Hello, everyone. Mic on, is my microphone on? Hello, everyone. Can you hear me in the back? He's going back. Everybody, hang on a second. We're going to adjust the volume. All right, can you hear me in the back now? No, okay. Hang on a second. We've got some. They're back to turn up the. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. Hi. No, I hear yes and I hear no. I'm up against the podium. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to MAFA 2023. I'm Margaret Briggs, and I'm the president of MAFA. Oh, but wait, for those who are watching on Zoom at home, I'm also the chair of the conference committee. It's been 4 years since we were here. A lot has happened since then, and we're delighted to be back. It took a lot of work to get here, and I have some people to thank. So first, I am very grateful to our fearless board who let me talk them into a virtual conference in 2021. Next, I want to thank our amazing, hardworking conference committee. Over 24 volunteers. They've been working for the past 2 years to make all this happen, and I am going to now embarrass them. I'd like you all to just stand up for a moment so we can, all of our conference committee. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to our instructors. There would be no workshops without you. Thank you to our advertisers and supporters. They've helped underwrite quite a few of our conference events. Please be sure to check out the handout that you got in your conference totes. Visit their websites. All the links are on the MAFA website, so check all that out. And I want to particularly thank the Handweavers Guild of America, who are our gold conference supporter, Peters Valley School of Craft, our silver conference supporter, and last but not least, tonight's keynote sponsor, Heddlecraft Magazine and Robin Spady. Thank you. Yay. And I also want to thank all of you for being here, because obviously without you, our wonderful attendees, there would be no conference. So thank you for being back. So usually this is the point where we say, how many times have you been to MAFA, and the people who've been here the most and the last one saying, but I want to do something a little bit different, because over 40% of our attendees this year are first timers. So I know it's awesome. So what I'd like to do is have all the newbies raise your hands. Wow. So old timers, I want you to look around, and if you see them looking kind of lost, help them out. Yeah, help them out. And then for newbies, don't be afraid to ask. All those of us who've been here before, it's, we're all here to help everybody. So I hope everybody has a wonderful conference. And now I would like to introduce Helena Valentine, our, MAFA past president.
Good evening and welcome. I've been asked to announce that a screw for a loom was found in Bridenstine. And it will be at the information booth in the vendor hall tomorrow morning. If it's yours, pick it up. Okay. In October of 2019, I began my 2-year term as MAFA president. I could not have predicted most of what was going to come next. I spoke to MAFA in 2021 virtually, halfway through 2 years of treatment. For 4 years, I've watched the dozens of volunteers who create this conference gliding serenely across the lake while paddling furiously below the waterline. Tonight, I'm here to tell you what I've learned. I've learned gratitude. So thank you. Thank you, attendees, instructors, and vendors. Thank you, volunteers, those who founded the guilds and those who keep them vibrant. You share your love of all things fiber, and you make MAFA happen. It has been a privilege to work with the talented group who bring this all together. You're an amazing team, and you've brought together this beautiful event. So if you're a conference volunteer, thank you. If you meet a conference volunteer, thank them. If someone asks you to volunteer in 2025, say yes. You are the conference. Thank you. Now I'd like to invite Gigi Matthews to come to the podium.
Hi, everybody. I'm still pinching myself that we're here, that we're actually here. And I just wanted to follow on from Helena's remarks to specifically shine a spotlight on the volunteers of MAFA 2021, because that was a really difficult conference to put on. And we haven't really had a chance to publicly recognize them. So I just wanted to say a few words. So cast your mind back to 2020 and all of the uncertainty that was happening at that time. And try to remember what it was like to learn to be on Zoom. Do you remember? Yeah, you're muted. You're muted. You're still muted. And conferences have to be planned like a year and a half in advance, bookings like at least a year before. And there was so much uncertainty. And when the very difficult decision was made to not do an in-person conference, because, you know, extremely disappointing, but realistic and the healthy thing to do, Margaret made the decision and the board to try to do it virtually. So remembering how hard it was to learn Zoom, times that by 1,000 to put a conference on Zoom at the time. And Margaret gave us all the confidence to do it. The board backed her up 100%, volunteers pitched in. Instructors had to pivot and figure out, how do I do this class online and still make it interesting and learnable? And volunteers kept pitching in. And MAFA 2021 was not only a successful conference, I mean, it doubled the in-person attendance. It was also the seed for MAFA Virtual. And MAFA Virtual launched last August, September, with free talks, with workshops and classes from instructors that people would say, wow, I could never get into one of their classes, and I'm in because it's virtual. And also things like MAFA Movie Night, which I co-host with Kate O'Hara. Every month when we get on MAFA Movie Night, we are amazed at seeing people from not just the Mid-Atlantic region, but all across America and Canada, where I'm from, and other places too. Kate had an email from South Africa saying, it's a bit late my time, but can you somehow make it happen? So one of the things about MAFA 2021 is it was truly inclusive financially. If you were disabled, if you had, lost the ability to attend, like my mom couldn't drive anymore, that was it for her guild. It was really something. So thank you to Margaret Briggs, to the board, and everybody, all of the volunteers for MAFA 2021. Just let's all say thank you.
Give me just a minute here. Sorry. Yep. Small. There we go. Hello, I'm Elizabeth Williamson, and I am the Executive Director for the Handweavers Guild of America. And I would like to thank all of you for allowing me a few minutes to give you an update on what's going on with HGA. But before I start, I want to share with you my latest art project.
You'll need to share.
Oh, sorry,
That's okay.
we're going to let you look at the dog for a minute. How do we get back to where I can see the PowerPoint?
No.
There we go. Thank you. Okay, so I'm not a weaver, but I am a dyer. But you're not here to hear about me. You're here to hear about HGA. And our mission is to educate, support, and inspire the fiber art community. And you're probably familiar, you have a copy of our quarterly magazine, Shuttle, Spindle, and Die Pot, in your tote bags. That's something that we've been doing for years now. And we have a few other projects such as our exhibits. Small Expressions is one of our touring exhibits. We actually used to not tour this. It used to go out to a gallery and you had 4 to 8 weeks to find that gallery and go see it. And hopefully it was close to you. But right before the pandemic, it went on tour, and it didn't go on tour for very long because of the pandemic, but it has been touring for the last 2 years. And this is very important because it gives more of you an opportunity to see this exhibit. It also tells people what fiber art is. It makes the community, the world understand and appreciate this art form because they're seeing more of it. And for the artists that are in this exhibit, what a great resume builder to say that you have had a piece that went on tour for a year. So this exhibit is going to open next month in Washington, and then it'll go on tour for a year. And then, but with the pandemic, we started a lot of new programs like everyone else. And the one that you're probably the most familiar with is Textiles and Tea every Tuesday at 4 p.m. with Kathy. We've had over 100 episodes now. But we've done some other programs as well. And part of what we do is we're trying to get more younger people involved. And historically, we've done this through scholarships, our Convergence internship program, and student memberships. But when the pandemic started, we also introduced the Careers in Textile Symposium. And this is a 2-day event. To give you a little bit of background and inspiration, my degree's in theater. And I don't know about any of you, but if you majored in the arts and went to school, your career services office probably wasn't much assistance. Because that's not how we typically find jobs in the arts. We find jobs from networking, from assistantships, a little bit here and there. And so, if you have a degree in the arts, a lot of people say, well, are you going to teach? And that is a great profession, but there are so many opportunities. I would have never dreamt that I would be a nonprofit, that I run nonprofits, and that's what I do with my degree. And so the idea is, how do we help those who are aspiring to have a career in fiber arts know what all is available to them? And so the first day of this program, we have 5 guest who talk about their career in the fiber arts and how they got there. So the idea is to just show that there are so many different things that you can do. And on the second day, we invite universities to talk about their fiber art programs. So if somebody is thinking about studying the fiber arts or they want to go back to grad school, and a key thing about this is it's not just for young people. It's fascinating talks. So even if you want to just hear what they have to say, you don't have to be wanting to make a career in the fiber arts to enjoy this. And it's free for all HGA members and all students. So we started this in the pandemic and it is continuing forward. The other thing that we started is our Spinning and Weaving Week celebration. Spinning and Weaving Week isn't anything new. It was happening before. We just encourage you and your guilds to go out there and do demonstrations and get the word out. Well, when the pandemic happened, we decided, it actually started with an employee saying, we should see if we could have some sales and specials offered that week. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And then I tend to think big. So it blew up to about 50 online events over 7 days and has become a virtual conference. And so during that week, we have a variety of activities. We have virtual studio tours, and these are our artists that will be there for 2023. It's always the first week of October. We also have Marketplace Lives. We have Thread Talks, which is our version of TED Talks. We've introduced Art Sparks, which are mini classes that are 30 minutes to 1 hour. We have panel sessions, a online virtual fashion show where it doesn't have to be fashion, it's show us your stuff. So it can be anything that you're working on, but it's hosted and emceed by Kathy, and that makes it a lot of fun. And this is $25 to attend for the week. Everything is recorded. You have access to it for 90 days, because I don't know about you, but well, I have to sit there for hours that week in front of my computer to make it all happen. But you might not want to be there for the number of hours, that's 50 hours is a lot a week. So you might want to watch it later. So it's all recorded. You have access to it for 90 days. And this is something that we plan to continue. And it's been great because like what MAFA is doing, we're reaching those who are not able to attend Convergence. And Convergence is our 7-day International Fiber Art Conference. How many of you have been? Great. And how many of you have never been? That's about half of you. So if you're not familiar, it happens every other year. We bring in, it attracts 1,000 to 2,000 people. In 2024, it's going to be in Wichita, Kansas. And I have fallen in love with Kansas. I did a road trip there. I'm all about roadside America, world's largest ball of twine, whatever I can find. And there's a lot of that in Kansas, but Wichita is great. It is a wonderful location. It's central. 2/3 of the United States can drive there in 10 hours or less. The hotel rates are affordable. They're $129 and $139 a night, which this day and age is affordable. It's hard to find a good hotel that's less than $150. But over that 7 days, we have a lot of activities. Our most popular event is our fashion show, which takes place on the first night. We have sessions that are anywhere from 90 minutes in length to 3-day workshops. And we typically have over 120 sessions. Now you do have to be a member of HGA to take a session, but you do not have to be a member of HGA to attend the conference. We also offer exhibits. We have 4 juried exhibits with cash prizes of $100 to $500, 2 invitational, our leaders and our interns. But we also work with the community to have fiber art exhibits in the region. And if you came to Knoxville, Jerry Faulkner did a phenomenal job getting fiber art exhibits all around that area. And there were so many fiber art exhibits, it probably would take you a couple days to see them all. So we try to work with the community to get all that fiber art there, because bringing Convergence to a city is not just something for you, but it's also that opportunity to, again, make sure people know what fiber art is and why it needs to be supported. Our keynote in 2024 is going to be Nikyle Begay. Nikyle is a Dene Shepherd fiber artist, teacher, storyteller, and photographer based in Arizona and on the Navajo Nation. This will happen on Sunday night. So we also have a marketplace. We have about 100 vendor booths. And in that marketplace, there's a lot of activity. Now, when I first came to HGA, everyone said to me, Convergence is great, but it's really expensive. I can't afford it. And I can appreciate that. I see what all of you spend. And if you go for all 7 days and you take a class every day, you're spending a good amount of money. But I'm here to tell you it does not have to be expensive. You can purchase a day pass, which is $10 to $15 to go into our marketplace, and you get access to all those vendors, all the art exhibits, and then all of the events we have planned in there. And we do a number of events. We have a decorative shuttle competition. New in 2024 is going to be a breed study. There's a demonstration stage, and then our informal fashion show. But even better, if you volunteer for 2 hours, you get in for free. So there's enough. When I mentioned this to a guild in California, somebody raised her hand. It was right after our conference in 2018 in Reno. And she said, that's exactly what I did. I went for 4 days and I spent the entire time in the marketplace. I was entertained the whole time, and it was a wonderful experience. So just keep in mind, if classes are not your thing or you're on a budget, that is an opportunity for you. A newer program that we have is Open Portfolio. We have a few people here. Susie, who is going to be your keynote. She has been one of our critiquers. This is a critique program, so it's a great opportunity to get your work critiqued. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go quick here. There's a number of additional activities: tours, jurors talks, panels, meetings and gatherings, kitchen towel exchange, fiber trust events. But I do want to point out our mentor program. I'm shy. I hate going into a room where I don't know anyone. And So when I got to thinking about the idea of having to attend a conference where I don't know anyone would be very intimidating to me. And you're all a very welcoming group, but if you're shy, that can be a struggle. And we all want to feel welcomed. We all want to feel included. So this mentor program is where we pair you up with somebody who's going to the conference and has been there. So you know at least one person when you get to Convergence. So if you want to attend, registration opens in the fall. We have day passes. Everything is available a la carte. If you purchase our Convergence value package, that gets you a 25% savings on classes, as well as a ticket to the keynote, the fashion show, and entrance into the marketplace and all exhibits. And we're always looking for volunteers. There's a number of different areas to volunteer. And you can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Hi, everybody. I'm Patty Chrisman, and I'm the MAFA secretary, and I'm also the events coordinator this year. Oh. It is my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker and MAFA instructor tonight, beloved teacher and artist, Susie Ballinger. Susie's journey has taken her from an upbringing in Indiana to New England, where through her explorations, she attained an MFA in artisanry, fiber arts from UMass Dartmouth. Her home is in Little Compton, Rhode Island. Her weaving home is in North Kingston, Rhode Island, where she has a studio in a restored mill. In the mill at Shady Lee, Susie creates and she teaches. She promotes community through craft, and with her husband, she operates a small production company, Real Fibers, where using natural fibers, they weave linen bed cover, sheets, towels, and blankets. In Susie's own words, plant, fiber, thread, and paper, woven, beaten, listened to, and worked by hand. This is the essence of Susie Ballinger's work, which has been included in exhibitions from Honolulu to Boston. Her recent work continues an exploration of paper and papermaking. She's a favorite workshop instructor for fiber guilds around the country. Susie has served on the board of directors of the Handweavers Guild of America since 2018 and served as president from 2020 to 2022. From bed sheets to espadrilles to works of artistic triumph constructed of natural fiber, fabric, and paper, Susie Ballinger elevates the humble object and uses humble materials to create works of art that escape the woven grid to flow and delight. Please join me in welcoming Susie Ballinger.
Quite an introduction. Thank you, Patty. Hi, everyone. I am honored to be here tonight.
I'm going to share with you tonight a bit of my personal history and my philosophy on the way we create through observation, inspiration, and creativity. Observation moves inspiration. Inspiration moves creativity, and creativity is moved by action. It's a cacophony of rhythm. I live my life outside as much as possible. From as young as I can remember, I have been climbing trees, digging in the dirt, swimming, exploring under bushes, seriously collecting butterflies, you know, where you pin them and, oh yeah, rocks and making things. Even now, we have a small self-supporting homestead. I was slow to learn to read. Instead, I played the guitar. Musical theater was my mother's passion. My sister and I spent weekends in a garage running between sets and houses that were leaned up against the wall. We played with costumes and we listened to piano for all of the live songs of Rodgers and Hammerstein, like Oklahoma, Music Man, Sound of Music, Unsinkable Monk, like every single one of them. And our family dinner time was name that tune. Like we would play it all the time. I used to think that the game came from our kitchen. With so much music in our home and life action happening, reading words seemed dull, but guitar was magic. The placement of my fingers on the strings told me tone and tension. I can feel it. It's like reading in 3 dimensions. When I use my hands, actually it's my whole body because I can feel the vibrations and the intonation, and I can understand the correlation between what I was doing and what the music was saying. Throughout my teens and college, I kept making music, making song, writing, crochet, embroidery, batik, which is really all about the smell of melting beeswax, and cooking. I learned what most of all of us fiber artists learn. I learned tacit understanding. Then in 1981, I met my first loom and it completely changed my life. I know at that exact moment of that day and where I was that I would be a weaver. The inspiration of that meeting has never stopped. I think that's called an epiphany. Within 2 years, I had a 1-year-old daughter and a 2-week-old used Lilstina loom. I had no idea how to use it. I bought the loom and we moved across the country. And of course, I bought this loom and I was like, oh, just write it down on a piece of paper what I have to do, right? You mean every single one of those has to go through one of those and one of those and one of those? Yes. Ozma Gallinger Todd's book, The Joy of Hand Weaving, was my candlelight, and I was incredibly happy. 10 years later, my textile weaving life was ensconced when I sold my treasured, beautiful 12-string guitar to buy an 8-shaft portable Maycomb loom. I had made the choice, and the choice was about learning and making. The photos I share with you tonight are ones that I have taken. I could fill a National Geographic magazine. I mean, don't we all have 8,000 to 10,000 photographs in our libraries? Okay, and all the fibers and textiles you will see are also ones that I have done. I believe that fullness is achieved through learning. Again, learning creates rhythm. Learning is also curiosity. Curiosity is the groundwork for observation. There's a delicacy that I see in nature. It's a living language. that has a rhythm we can all see and feel. The growth of energy challenges us to observe. This subtle concept encourages one to look deeply and to learn what excites us. I translate these observations through material, structure, and pattern. Form and texture. Pattern. Pattern and structure. Pattern and structure and rhythm through repetition. Simplicity and extraordinary out-of-the-box ideas. Yeah, and not all my ideas are breath-catching, but they keep coming. They're not worked, ideas aren't worked from a photograph. They're ideas from our impressions. They're ideas from our observations, and they're ideas from our memories. We are trying to capture a rhythm. I think the loom is an instrument because it responds to structure and pattern or rhythm and tone through tension. The loom is a tool that needs me. It needs me to communicate, to work the threads. The warp is one dimension. The weft is the other dimension. My hands and feet control the movement between these two parts, and they translate the tension into pattern. And it's an entire embodied process. There are so many patterns and visual rhythms around us. There's not much difference between a weaving drawdown and a guitar chord tablature. They're both languages, and they can be translated into 3 dimensions within a woven structure. All fiber art has a rhythm. When trying to write these musical impressions and rhythms, we're taught to see shapes along lines. But how can we create depth of tone? How can we create vibrancy of color? How can we create the shape of sound? You have to move away from expectations and tradition. Add some color, add something wild. These gestures on these musical scores are adding a set of instruction for someone building or playing. We do that all the time, right? The reality is this intersection with weaving, fashion, textiles, and art is amazing when it's given the freedom to express how we observe. We can break from convention. Communicating a visual impression opens us to possibilities. Allow your observations to inspire you. Don't you love this statement? The main thing is to be moved, to tremble, to live. Keep visual notes. Use it as a call and response kind of activity. And react to those notes. You can see and hear the force of this water. Look how deep the trees are in the river. The noise from this flood was astounding. As astounding as the quiet of this stone wall, and as astounding of the sense of peace from this stone wall. The placement of these stones and all the cooled lava and magma are like layers in action. There's an elegance from these patterns that I try to communicate. This feels like a folk dance. where the music is inspired by necessity, creativity, and maybe some boredom. These leaves speak to me of vulnerability, of being vulnerable and safe. I responded by securing the sense of vulnerability in resin. I would have loved to have made this stone wall. It's literally 12 feet by 12 feet, and it is a wall. It's not on the floor. This dry laid twill granite wall. Well, the patterns that it inspired are less than a literal interpretation. But the idea of repair and industrial mending is pretty interesting. It inspired me to secure this ruffled piece of paper to a wall with lead. And the reaching of these branches and these roots inspired definitive form of some kind. Expansion, looking across the ocean, looking at the grasses reaching up to the sun, make me want to organize. Masts, ropes, lines, tension, slack, machines. They all work. Cranes to build bridges. All those lines have tension and they work. And I respond. The seats on the Ferris wheel and the structure holding it inspire action. So how can we turn our creativity into action? We have to keep working. How much depth of feeling can I imply? I used the rhythm of pattern to impart the feeling. And here I tried to impart dimension and rhythm. Movement here is both literal, the algae, and implied because of the water underneath it. Did the inspiration come together? How do you feel it is expressed? Can you read it and hear it at the same time? Or is it quiet? Syncopation in music is the displacement of regular accents resulting in a disruption. Is this syncopated? Recognizing undulating sounds and expressing the desire for the reestablishment of normality is syncopation. These worn piers look like a grid to me. There's slack tide, and it creates that rhythm. And when we listen to it, I tried to create a visual rhythm, a shift of accent, some modification, and some stress. For you weavers out there, listen to your tie-up rhythm. What is the timbre of it? Treadling is a reflection on rhythm, pattern, and structure. When my husband and I are weaving in the studio, you know, there's no talking, but we just hear that quiet rhythm of the looms moving. And now all of a sudden, Wayne will say, did you just hear that? Did you hear that bolt drop? You know, and I'll find where the nut came off. Or he'll say, did you just make a mispick? You know, I have to go back because, well, you can hear it. You really can, but you need to have your senses on. Sometimes it's syncopated rhythm. This wild cucumber. Does this express that photo? Or does this express that dichotomy more? The rhythm of movement captures me. And I try to recreate it. The delicacy and freedom of these elements become language for all of us in some way. The bark on this tree and the depth and the color. Transfer your inspirations into your own tacit language. Look at the undulations from those growth rings. Well, not every visual impression will convey your inspiration. But don't stop. Create a personal rhythm of seeing and making. Even when you think you have already expressed what you want, well, there's going to be another syncopated rhythm to express. Shocked by the violent splintering of this tree, I pushed my knowledge to see how much space was needed to reveal my personal disbelief of that splintered trunk. Our inspirations have a macro and a micro view. Blurring the lines of intersection. Communicating something, syncopation in the sand, or creating lines of rhythm that are created by utility. Find a technique for you that breaks from a traditional rhythm. It could be organic, it could be mathematical. Both of these methods provide a visual ripple to follow. This cattle gate made me want to walk barefoot across it. So I made a carpet. The lines in this sunset, oh my gosh, how many times have you seen a sunset and you're like, nobody would believe this is what it looked like if I recreate it? Well, I tried to recreate it, the placement of every thread, tried to recreate the tempo of that sunset. How many ways can we express an organic line? How many ways are there to express the inspiration of color? As fiber artists, we know the tactile language is an exceptional metaphor for a response to inspiration. Only fiber artists can express the fierceness and the gentleness of these fibers at the same time. I captured them in a sheet of paper. The most important skill we have is how to use our hands. When you can coordinate hand, eye, mind, you can do anything. I'm still working on it. Finding boundaries, breaking them. This is me. It's my self-portrait. Really is. Participation in life reflects our love of making. Engaging and connecting with others is important, but learning these ideas from other people, people from diverse backgrounds, people from different ethnicities, people from different age groups. All of that is the soul of understanding. Oh, my favorite quote is one from Raymond Bradbury. Everyone must leave something behind when he dies, my grandfather said. A child, or a book, or a painting, or a house, or a wall built, or a pair of shoes made, or a garden planted. Something your hand touched some way so your soul has somewhere to go when you die. And when people look at that tree or that flower you've planted, you are there. It's the obsession that we still have to share more. Thank you.
All right, everybody, give us just a minute while we get the screen raised and get ready for the fashion show.
Hi, everyone. My name's Annette Devitt, and I'm the coordinator of the 2023 MAFA Fashion Show and Exhibit. Before we begin our show, I'd like to recognize the sponsor of our show, Long Thread Media. This show and exhibit, as well as the other parts of the conference, would not be possible without our generous donations from our sponsors. In addition, we are very grateful to be able to present awards from both the Hand Weavers Guild of America and Complex Weavers. These awards, along with the Viewer's Choice Award, will be announced on Friday evening. I'll tell you more about the Viewer's Choice Award a little bit later. Tonight, you're only seeing a sampling of the 27 music started without me, okay. Today, we're seeing a sampling of the 27 items that were entered in the fashion exhibit this year. You'll want to check out all the entries and the exhibit section of the marketplace. There you will also find not only the wonderful fashion entries, but also hands-on the art of making, our fiber art exhibit, the Mad Hatter hats exhibit, and the kitchen towel exchange exhibit. Okay, now for music. Okay, so now it's time to spotlight the fashion. So let's begin our show. Our first group of models have the blues, the bright, vibrant blues, that is. Trust me, they're coming. Neil Howard from Waynesville, North Carolina, usually weaves and dyes silk wearables for customers. It's decided to make this particular piece for herself. As a natural silk yarns were being wound into warp, space dyed, and then woven, the artist spoke to her. She recalled childhood days, summer skies and cool shade reflected in still water, and blowing bubbles and watching them bob and sail on the slightest of air currents. That's why she decided she needed to add bubbles to the yarn. She used stencils to first discharge and then to overlay the circulations. Embroidered edge further defined the bubbles. We want to thank Neil for taking us on this journey back in time. And we also want to thank Neil for modeling Neil's outfits. One of the exciting aspects of the fiber arts is the ability to expand. General, just that. Inspired by Center Park, project allowed her to experiment with W and to develop. She provided some challenges. When the song comes out, Susan Marling from Ackworth, Georgia, says color and pattern are always her inspiration. Everything she creates starts as a piece of white silk. She paints on liquid and then uses rakes to make these drops of paint become moving patterns. This creation is all about ocean colors, making them move on the silk. The kimono on the top of the original fabric. Her goal was to create a jacket set that was elegant but comfortable. Touch with moving in the ocean waves, building the color, even the curves of the mark. Susan, definitely. Blades. Comes from many different places. Some forms of well, what about you? You provide inspiration for Gina Wilson. Gina goes with Virginia. Remembers her grandmother twirling under the trees and telling stories about her relatives in Czechoslovakia. In her weaving, Gina was also drawn to trees. This fabric was her study of trees and binder on blocks. Once woven, she knew it needed to become a vest. In honor of her grandmother, Jean used her favorite Czechoslovakian embroidery design, which is a round boisterous flower that was part of a classical pattern border plan, and she embroidered it on that. I think your grandmother would be proud of your creation. Sometimes inspiration comes from necessity. So what happens when your favorite brown cookie needs to be replaced with your fibers? Well, make your own package. With your mortgage with New Jersey. Remember the process. Just the drum part as well. Vision, that's for she went to our a wonderful creation, Cecilia. Strawberries. Color can be the key component in creating a garment. Our next group of models all use hand-dyed yarns for their garments. Kyrie Gerritsen from Frederick, Maryland, decided she wanted to design a garment after watching Daryl Lancaster's WOW presentation during the MAFA 2021. Add the knowledge she gained from reading the book 8 Shafts Beyond the Beginning, and she was ready to start designing fabric for a jacket. Color was a component of her design, so she dug into her stash and she found fabulous hand-painted warps and yarns. She went back and forth between the draft and the color choices. She had yarn draped all over her house. She settled on these colors, woven into a combination of plain basket and tulle. The results is a fantastic jacket that can be worn for many occasions. Nice job, David. Like many private artists, plug-in New Jersey loves to wear handmade garments, all kinds of fiber effects. She has several sweaters to cover budgeting. She wanted to create something special for some things. She decided the money style slip dress was in her 15 which her steps was already like one. Wait, oh, another other fashion, sorry. The furniture fashion show participants that inspiration from Denise Powell. Thanks to the models, virtual classes, Mariel Miller of Lebanon, Ohio, to Denise Basketball, into Forbes and this week. The newfound knowledge and inspiration, Mariel, and God, which supports. By Denise's brand design. By Laura. Textile remnants. She finishes the edge of the remnant and then she stops. Remnants died from functioning wearable particles. What an incredible one. Say it takes a village to raise a child. Did you know that it takes a village to know? 16 members of the goal. That code is a clean brain. So stunning garment being on behind ground, just beautiful. As we conclude the show, we maybe thinking, if you really wanted to know about the shadows, particular weave or exactly what yarns were used in the garment, well, lucky for you, all of that information is compiled in a couple of binders like this one that you will find down in the exhibit area. Not only are there pictures and more information, but there's also touch samples. We don't want you to touch the exhibit, but you can come look at the books and check out many of the garments have touch samples for them. So, and I just wanted to know the information in the booklet here too will be compiled and put into an e-booklet, which will be available online at the conference website, probably sometime in July. So now on behalf of the entire exhibit committee, I want to encourage you to take the time out of your busy schedule to check on all the exhibits. I can assure you, you will be inspired. And while you're in the exhibits, you will be able to vote for your favorite garment in the fashion show, and you'll be able to vote for your favorite hat, piece of artwork, and towel. You'll just need to have your vote in for the viewer's choice by 8:30 p.m. on Friday night for your vote to be counted. So first, now I'd like to thank a few people. First, I want to thank all the fashion exhibit participants and the models tonight who are being willing to model their creations. I'd like to thank the participants in the fashion exhibit and many who brought their dress forms for us to use in the exhibit as well. So let's give them all a round of applause. I'd also like to thank the members in my Third Star Fiber Guild who I recruited to do some modeling and helping with things, and all the volunteers that helped us today. They did a great job. So now I want to thank all of you for joining us for the 2023 MAFA Fashion Show. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette, and the exhibits committee. I have a few housekeeping things and then we'll be able to wrap things up and head in for dessert. First, and this just came up. I'm watching the Zoom meeting on here and that just gave me the blurs. So hopefully I'll come back in focus soon. A few housekeeping things. This one just came up this afternoon. Apparently the fire marshal is really mad at us for propping open those doors in the gym, something we've been doing for the last 4 conferences. But so starting tomorrow, what we want to do is use the entrance from Shanks Lane. So even if you park out there, just walk around and come in that entrance where the little check-in desk is there. And that way, hopefully we'll stay square with the fire chief. If you need any help during the conference, there are a couple of options. Look for those of us with a red name badge. We're committee members, ask us. And if you talk to somebody who doesn't know, they'll figure out who does. You can text the MAFA hotline or you can email help@mafafiber.org. Just remember, most of us are taking classes. So during class, sometimes we might not get messages right on the minute. Coffee, morning coffee will start tomorrow morning, 6:30 in the West Dorms, both A and B lobbies. You'll find coffee and hot water for tea. Classes start tomorrow morning. Yay, yay, 9 a.m. Oh, wait, I forgot. So before that, check your schedule. So everybody should have gotten some handouts in your tote bag. You've got maps, you've got directions, schedules, all sorts of good things. Couple of meetings. The WARP meeting is tomorrow morning. Before classes start, and then in the afternoon we're going to have yoga breaks on Friday and Saturday. That'll be out here in the atrium 5 to 5:30. And also, if any of your guilds are interested in MAFA grants, either the full grants or the micro grants, we've got a Q&A session scheduled for tomorrow before supper. And then tomorrow night, our big activity down in the marketplace where you registered, it's Shop Till You Drop. We've got music with Martha and Melissa. We've got all of our exhibits, our vendors. When you go in, look for some signs and check on the list to see if you want a door prize, and then come to the information desk and get your gift certificates. Viewers' choice, so vote by 8:30, and then at 8:45 we'll announce the Viewers' Choice Awards and also the winners of the craft school tuition door prizes. Ooh. Saturday will be open studio night, and we're gonna work out also trying to do that on Zoom. So I know for some of you, getting all the way around campus and seeing all 40 classes can be a lot. So we're gonna try and have a Zoom and have somebody in each classroom building. So even if you don't get to all the classes this time, you'll be able to watch the recording of that later. Give me a couple of days, because I gotta get to some stronger Wi-Fi than what's in my dorm room. We'll put the recording of this meeting up on the conference website, and it'll be up for about 2 weeks. So check for that in a few days. Now we'll all adjourn. If you walk down the hall to the galley, we've got a little dessert reception with some cookies and beverages. And again, I just want to thank all of you for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful conference. Yay. I get to really. Huh? Oh, it's okay. Oh, my God, I've got one.